Two, two, one.
Good afternoon, and welcome to this virtual town hall for College of Charleston students, parents, and families. I'm Ron Menchaca, Vice President for University Communications, and I'll be moderating today's event off camera. I'm joined by President Andrew Hsu and the college's entire senior leadership team, all of whom are participating remotely from separate locations. This is our 6th round of virtual town halls. We held our first town hall way back on March 24th, more than 10 weeks ago. The format for today's event will be similar to past ones and will last about 45 minutes. We'll start with opening remarks from President Hsu and Interim Provost Fran Welch, and then get to your questions. You can submit questions live using the Q&A window at the top right of your screen. After I read each selected question aloud, the appropriate presenter will respond. Selected questions will appear in the Q&A window and on a slide on your main screen. If we don't read your question live during today's event, we'll still try to answer you directly through the chat feature. We'll also read a couple of questions that were submitted through our COVID-19 email address. You are welcome to submit questions there at any time. That address is covid19@cfc.edu. And with that, I'll turn it over to President Hsu for opening remarks. President Hsu.
Thank you, Ron, and welcome students and parents. It's good to be with you all here today. Since we last held a virtual town hall meeting a couple of weeks ago for students and parents, a lot has happened. We initiated phase 1 of our return to campus work plan on Tuesday, May 26th. We're now in the second week of phase 1, and so far things are going pretty smoothly. The vast majority of our employees are still working remotely, and our professors continue to teach their classes online. For those employees working physically on campus, they have been following our health and safety guidelines in order to prevent the possible transmission of COVID-19. That means everyone is wearing face coverings, following proper social distancing protocols, and holding meetings virtually. Different campus working groups in conjunction with our facilities management team and health services team are working now to determine classroom occupancy, cleaning protocols, and directional flow for foot traffic in classroom buildings, hallways, stairwells, and offices. We will continue to monitor numbers and following guidelines from the CDC and the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control before moving into phase 2. Like you probably are, we're closely watching to see the number of positive cases and hospitalizations that may arise as stay-at-home mandates have been lifted around the state and around the country. At this time, the college doesn't foresee initiating phase 2 of our return to work plan until after the July 4th holiday. As for the fall, we continue to make plans, many plans. In fact, 10 different working groups are busy finalizing recommendations for handling the different aspects of campus life. In a moment, Provost Fran Welch will talk about our fall academic calendar, which we announced last week. Before that, however, I want to address briefly a topic on everybody's mind. It is certainly on the top of my mind. This past week has been one of deep national crisis. If you are like me, you must be wondering how much crisis can our country handle at any one time. The violence against African Americans, unfortunately, is not something new. Yet again, we see the worst of our society play out in real time with the deaths of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, among so many others, too numerous to name. I want to be clear that we as an institution support the peaceful protest calling for recognition and reform surrounding these strategies. And at the same time, we condemn the destruction stemming from some of the riots, as well as the violence some peaceful protesters have faced. I want to thank our public safety officers and facilities management crews who worked through the night this past weekend to secure properties and to make emergency repairs to campus. Thanks to their efforts throughout the weekend, the damage the College of Charleston received was minimal compared to what others in Charleston and around the country experienced. Broken windows and glass doors can be replaced. Graffiti can be painted over. Our campus can and will go back to what it looked like before. But should it? I've been asking myself that question again and again. Yes, of course, our physical campus should return. It must. We are the most beautiful campus in the country. But that's just its physical aspect. I want to spend a moment to touch upon the intellectual, emotional, and spiritual aspect of our campus. And I want to encourage all of us to take these last days to heart. Right here and right now, let's commit to change. What we were yesterday is not necessarily who we should be today or tomorrow. I think listening and talking are key for us right now. I know for the past year, we, the College of Charleston, have been doing a lot of listening and talking, having many honest, candid, sometimes uncomfortable conversations among our faculty, staff, and students about almost every aspect of the college, its culture, its curriculum, its budget, you name it. This was the foundation for our strategic planning process, determining who we are and who we want to be as an institution. Now, and for the next 250 years, a theme that came forward loud and clear in these conversations and connects everything we want to be is diversity, equity, and inclusion. As an institution, we have talked about it for years, decades even, but we, the College of Charleston, have to do a better job, a more intentional job of walking the walk. In our strategic plan, which was approved in May by our Board of Trustees, we updated and revised our core values to put more emphasis on diversity, equity, and inclusion. To that end, our faculty and staff all have to work together now more than ever to initiate and implement more effective strategies, concrete strategies that will address disparity for our students and our greater community. Our country is experiencing unrest because equity and inclusion have been sadly missing from too many parts of daily American life for far too long. As a university, we can help fill those gaps. In my mind, education is and always will be the most effective weapon against inequity. Where racism pushes down, education lifts up. I'm not naive enough to think these problems of inequity can be fixed overnight or that the fixes are easy. And the College of Charleston, of course, can't do that alone. We are just one piece in a very complicated big puzzle. But as a leader, I can tell you that I am committed to change that will lift up. As students and family members of the college, I hope you will join me and that you will work with me to transform the College of Charleston into an institution that better serves all people and fulfills our desire for the College of Charleston to be seen always as a beacon of hope, a beacon for a better tomorrow. Thank you for listening to that message. With that, I will turn it over to Provost Welch to talk more about our revised academic calendar. Provost Welch.
Thank you, President Hsu. I sincerely appreciate that very meaningful message. We look forward to fall semester and having our students and faculty on campus. And if your health issues prevent you from coming to campus, we look forward to working with you at a distance. We put a lot of thought into a productive and healthy return to campus, and the fall semester calendar is now posted at the Registrar's Office website. Our goal is for interesting and meaningful teaching, learning, and assessment with as little travel as possible to avoid COVID-19. Classes will begin August 25th. Our convocation will be on August the 24th. As usual, we will have courses offered in express and semester format. We won't have classes on November 4th, Election Day, because we want you to vote, but we want you to stay in Charleston. We will have classes on Monday, November 2nd. Classes resume on November 4th. Students will not return to campus following Thanksgiving break. However, instruction will continue at a distance until Reading Day on Monday, December 7th. Exams begin December 8th and end on the 14th. I chair a very creative working group that drafted the revised fall 2020 calendar, and we're now working with our deans, chairs, and program directors on guidelines for the delivery of meaningful instruction to keep the needs of our students as well as our faculty and staff in mind. We're currently determining each classroom's capacity, keeping in mind 6-foot distancing. We would like to have as few changes to the fall schedule of courses as possible. However, there will be changes to parts of the current course schedule. For example, some courses will be moved to fully online format. Many of our existing in-person lecture courses will be offered in a hybrid format that will involve face-to-face meetings for smaller groups of students, coupled with some online instruction. We ask that you be flexible and patient as these changes are made during the next few months. You will have the opportunity to speak to your advisors in the weeks leading up to the start of classes this fall if you need to update some of your schedule. To meet the needs of our students and faculty, our working group has conducted surveys. The results of the faculty survey were provided to chairs who are using those results to assist with planning. The surveys for undergraduate and graduate students have been sent, and we hope to have those returned by next Monday, December 8th. Students on the town hall, if you received a survey, please complete it and send it back to us. We very much encourage you to wear a face mask when you are on campus, and particularly when you are in class. This and social distancing are effective practices to avoid issues with COVID-19. We in Academic Affairs are planning for our healthy and productive fall 2020 semester by coordinating as much as we possibly can with our colleagues across campus and the numerous and various working groups. Fall 2020 will certainly be a semester like no other, and we look forward to experiencing it with you. I'm happy to answer your questions, and now it's back over to Ron Menchaca. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you, Fran. We're going to go ahead and jump right into questions here. So the first question from the Q&A chat is, should a student become ill with symptoms indicative of COVID-19, what is the best course of action to take, and what campus resources are available to help them?
Hi, Ron. This is Bridget McLernan Sykes. I'm the Director of Student Health Services. So this is everything we're planning for this summer. We are making sure that all of our T's are crossed and our I's are dotted. But basically, we will start by making sure ahead of time that students, faculty, and staff know exactly what to do when and if they develop symptoms that are consistent with COVID-19. from that standpoint, we will then, as the student health services, make sure that the student is aware that they stay put until they are able to be assessed, to call for medical assessment. And then from there, we will activate our plan depending upon the results of that test related to isolation and quarantine. So we are developing a very detailed plan, both for the campus and also very specifically at student health services, so that we can support the student that is being tested, and then those that test positive, and what the protocol is from that standpoint. Our overarching goal through all of this is to minimize the transmission of the illness and to maximize the health and safety of the entire campus community.
Thank you, Bridget. Next question is a popular one about hurricanes. The question is, what happens to classes if we have to evacuate for a hurricane? Will we solely be back online, or will there be a quarantine period and then back to in-person classes? I am concerned, like many of my classmates, about having to go back and forth with in-person and online instruction.
Yeah, Ron, this is Paul Patrick, Chief of Staff, President Hsu. I'll be happy to take a first run at this. I don't know if anyone else wants to add on, but as a former student at the College of Charleston and a lifelong resident of the Charleston area, I can assure you the past 4 years of evacuation each year are somewhat of an anomaly. And certainly we hope that we don't have to deal with that this year. We are working with the South Carolina Department of Emergency Management about what kind of options we have regarding the hurricane season and the evacuation of students and the clearing of residence halls. But we are certainly sensitive of your concerns of going back and forth between in-person and online instruction. And I think President Hsu has been very clear to the administration of the college that we have a mandate to be as least disruptive as possible, and we'll certainly keep that in mind as we work through the fall semester.
Thank you, Paul. Next question is about dining services. What is the plan for dining services in the fall semester? Will students who have chosen an all-you-can-eat meal plan receive a discount if we are not able to visit dining locations normally?
Hey, Ron, this is Amy Orr from Business and Auxiliary Services, and I can take that question. We're working closely with our business partner, Earmark, Health Services, Facilities Management, and other College of Charleston officials, as well as the Department of Health and Environmental Control, regarding the details of dining on campus, with the health and safety of students and staff being our #1 priority, as well as working to minimize the impact on service levels. And as soon as those details are firmed up, we will certainly share that information.
Thank you, Amy. Next question, will early move-in still be available this fall?
Hi, everyone. This is Alicia Cadill in Student Affairs, and we will be working out a full schedule for move-in. We know typically the groups that move in early, those activities are not happening pre-start of classes this year like they have in the past. They'll happen in a different format or later in the fall semester. So an early move-in like we might have had in past years will look different, though we will be spreading out move-in over likely more days than we've had in the past to make sure we create social distancing and minimize numbers of people that are moving in at the same time. So we're still in the phases of this, and we'll have that information very soon, but we will have folks coming in over a period of time. It just won't look exactly like it has in the past for those particular programs.
Thanks, Alicia. Very, very similar question. What procedures will be in place during move-in to keep students safe?
Hey, Ron, this is Amy. I'm happy to take that one. So again, we're working closely with Residence Life, Health Services, Facilities Management regarding the details of move-in. As Alicia just mentioned, we're working to adjust the schedule to allow for safer distancing. We're trying to adjust our procedures to minimize the involvement of multiple parties. We're also going to be encouraging students to minimize what they bring, and then we'll be working to increase cleaning and sanitizing of the public high-touch spaces. But we are hoping to have those plans finalized in the next few weeks, and we will certainly be communicating those to students as soon as we're able.
Thank you, Amy. The next question will come from our Q&A chat, and then following that, we'll go to a question from our COVID-19 email address. So the next question in the chat is, will the visitor policy change for students living in on-campus housing?
Hi, everyone. Alicia Cadill again. And the piece we're really working on is how to create this incredible experience for students both in the residence halls and out of the residence halls that looks different than experiences in the past. And we hope ultimately some of the things we do will be better, improved. But we're looking at all of the policies in the residence halls, and I anticipate, at least for the start of the semester, we will have some more limited policies around visitation and things like that until we get a sense of how things are going, give people a chance to adapt to this different environment that we may not be used to. So I anticipate that we'll be limiting that visitation and watching what's happening in the campus environment, and certainly giving students a chance to adapt to what's happening, but also watching what's happening in the area around the spread of the virus and things like that. So we anticipate some differences in that way at the beginning, and if things are more positive, then we may be able to change some of those as we move a little further into the semester.
Thank you, Alicia. And so the next question is going to come from our COVID-19 email address, and this question was submitted in advance. And the question is, I'm an incoming student and have been trying to upload my immunization records to the My Student Health portal in My Charleston using my CFC login, but I keep getting a system error. What am I doing wrong?
Hey, Ron, this is Bridget McLernan Sykes at Student Health. I'll answer that one. You're likely not doing much wrong. If you have recently paid your deposit, you may want to go back and look at an email that you got after paying your deposit, which gives you new instructions about your username, and you'll have to follow those instructions very carefully to get in. If you do that and you still have problems, please feel free to reach out to the IT help desk. They are available and ready to help you if you have any further problems.
Thank you, Bridget. Back to our Q&A chat questions. The question is there an anticipated start date for phase 2 of campus reopening? If there is, would students who have research opportunities on campus that cannot be completed online be permitted on campus during phase 2?
Ron, this is Andrew Hsu, and I'll try to answer that question. I think the answer to the second part is yes. If we start phase 2, then we would like to have our student researchers back on campus as long as they can maintain social distancing in their labs. As for when phase 2 is going to start, at this point, we don't have a definite date yet, but we're projecting it to be after the July 4th holidays.
Thank you, President Hsu. Next question is, how will on-campus services like the library and the gym operate?
Hi, Alicia Cadill and Student Affairs. I can talk about the fitness facilities a little bit, and I think perhaps maybe Provost Welch can talk about the library or other academic facilities. So this is a process we're looking at, as I shared before, providing the most full student experience possible is our effort. So we are looking at processes for those fitness facilities that will allow for good cleaning, social distancing, safety of students. So we're looking to offer those services to students, but certainly it will look differently than it has in the past.
So Dean John White of the Addlestone Libraries and our other college libraries, Avery and the Grice Marine Center, has worked a very detailed plan for the libraries, and we will be using social distancing. We will have pedestrian management, so there'll be one exit in and one exit out, and he has very detailed information that will be posted at the Addlestone website in the very near future.
Thank you both. Next question is, what happens if someone in my class gets COVID-19? Will we be notified and will we have to quarantine? Will the whole course go online?
Hey, Ron, this is Bridget McLernan Sykes from Student Health Services. I'll take the first part of this question and then maybe Provost Welsh can take the second part. If someone, so basically we will be following the South Carolina Department of Health guidelines for this. We will be developing contact tracing and then plans for that. The whole idea to maintain social distancing and wearing masks is in an effort to really minimize people's risk, even when they come into contact with others. So we will be really careful to make sure everyone really takes those recommendations seriously, but that will be, we will follow the South Carolina Department of Health guidelines when we do have positive cases.
You know, I'm so glad that we have that question because I really need to have a conversation with Bridget about what we will do. So I imagine if we have one student who has COVID-19, we will then try to determine if the other students have it and then make a decision about what we would do with the class, whether we will continue with social distancing. And of course, the class is hybrid, so you might be in the part of the class that is that has the student with COVID, and then the other part of the class doesn't. So we'll just have to work out those details, and we will. I'll work with you on it.
Thank you both. Next question is regarding residence halls. What is your plan for handling dorms? Will students still be double or triple in a room?
Hey, Ron, this is Amy again. I can answer this. So our working group is certainly looking at the capacity of our residence halls, and we're trying to figure out how we can de-densify as much as possible while still meeting demand and maintaining safe distancing, and also minimizing the impact on the student experience. We are certainly working to not assign 3 students to a triple room as part of that process.
Thanks, Amy. So the next question will come from our Q&A chat, and then following that, we'll go to one of our email questions. So the next question is, will there be COVID testing before moving into dorms and or starting class?
Hi, this is Bridget McLernan Sykes again. We are actively looking at all of these issues. So this is a big one, and we are looking at all of the guidelines that are out there relative to the Centers for Disease Control and the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, and we will be making recommendations to the president soon on those.
Thank you, Bridget. Next question comes from our COVID-19 email address, and the question is, amid the national protests surrounding the death of George Floyd, what can students, faculty, and staff at CFC do to address systemic issues and inequalities that exist around race in our broader society?
Hi, Ron. This is Renard Harris, Chief Diversity Officer, and I'll take that one. So I think there's 3 things we can do. I think the first thing we should do is acknowledge, unless the standards and norms on our campus have been greatly influenced by diverse communities, we should acknowledge the fact that they are based primarily from white norms, white standards. And if that's the case, that advantages all our white brothers and sisters and colleagues on campus. And so I would encourage all of us, faculty, staff, students, divisions, wherever you are, to take a look at those standards and norms and consider everyone in your space, in your room, in your classroom, to make sure everyone's considered in those standards and norms. And it's a disservice to students if we don't do that, because when our students graduate from the College of Charleston, they won't only walk in white spaces, they will walk into a beautiful, diverse world. And it's our responsibility to make sure that they are able to navigate that. Secondly, what we need to do is take a second look at this sense of judgment and acceptance. Oftentimes there's an unspoken sense that our Black, brown, and Asian students are incessantly attempting to be accepted and asking if they're worthy of our white colleagues, faculty, and students. And I always jokingly tell people that I've only been tested, my worthiness has only been tested once, and that was from my mother. And when she told me I was Black and beautiful, that's all I needed to know, and the only test that I'll only take. So when you see Black, brown, and Asian students sitting, or faculty standing next to you, know that he or she is worthy, because he or she's already been tested. And thirdly is the hard part for the classroom, for the professors, no matter what the professor is teaching, no matter what's happening in the faculty and staff, is a hard conversation about race. We have to have it. We have to encourage it, because when we don't encourage it, the comparison, which is always in this beautiful country a comparison, the comparison of allowing someone white to do something and not someone Black or brown always exists. And there's oftentimes when there's a question of who received privilege that was unearned that someone else is not getting. So we have to have those hard conversations, and it's everything from the tests that you're given, from raises, promotions, everything that happens needs to be considered, because there may be an imbalance where it's unearned by some and reprimanded from others. So those are the three things. I think the sense of acknowledgement, where our standards come from, a sense of acceptance and not having, and knowing that we are worthy as Black, brown, and Asian Americans. And thirdly, having that hard conversation about race. And I want to close by saying racism is choice. And we all need to accept the fact that we are living from the sins of our fathers, but we don't have to perpetuate it. And I feel confident in my 15 years around the College of Charleston that we have the faculty, staff, and students to move away from it and be a better college. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you, Renard.
Yeah.
And then back to our Q&A chat questions. So the next question is, my daughter has just completed her sophomore year and is from Scotland. Will she be able to travel to America? If not, can she do practicals in Scotland and academic online? She is doing physical education.
So I'm going to try to take that one.
Fran, I think you may have accidentally muted.
Sorry. So I think we'll.
I think you did it again.
Oh, I can't seem. I don't do well with this. But if she comes to campus, we'll need to quarantine her for a while, and then. But I know that the head of our physical education department and program is Karen Smale, and I will guarantee you Karen Smale will work with your daughter to make it work out for her to be able to continue in the program. We desperately need physical education teachers, and so we'll make sure we'll work with her in one way, shape, form, or another to make sure she can continue in the program.
Thank you. Next question is about masks in the classroom. What guidelines are being set for social distancing and requirements for masks in the classrooms?
So we are going to require masks in classrooms, and we know that social distancing and using masks are the two best ways to prevent COVID-19. So we want folks to wear their mask, and the speaker of our faculty has said, no mask, no class. And so that's the way we're going to approach it. We do want to be very positive about this, that it is, we're practicing a good public health a model if we wear our mask. And so we need to have our mask, and we need to have them with us. And we do need to also social distance in the classrooms, and we will do both of those.
Thank you. Next question. Aside from the changes to fall break and post-Thanksgiving, are there any anticipated changes to the way instruction is carried out, i.e. split schedules or reduced class sizes?
So what will happen with that is, of course, we do have to social distance. So that means we have to have about 30 to 40% less students in the classrooms. And so we will have to, for those classes that are face-to-face, break into groups, and depending upon the size of the classroom, the size will determine the size of the class. But part of the time the class would be online, and part of the time it would be in person. And that will be a challenge, we know, but in many ways, we think that can be a successful model for us. And we're offering professional development opportunities for our faculty throughout the summer so that they too will be ready for this new approach.
So thank you, Provost Welch. This is Andrew Hsu. I want to add that for every in-person classroom class, we're going to try to offer synchronous and asynchronous options for the same classes. That is, if a student doesn't feel safe one day and wants to watch that class from his or her dorm, there is an option for that.
Thank you both. In fact, the next question that you both may have just addressed it. Are face coverings going to be required of the school? And the answer was yes from Provost Welch. Will there be options for students to go solely online if they don't feel safe with these arrangements? Anything else you'd like to add, Provost Welch or President Hsu?
Yes, we will have those options for students. So if a student prefers to be totally online, and even if they want to be on campus and totally online, that is an option. But you'll have to work with your advisor to make that adjustment in the schedule. But we're gonna do everything we can to meet the needs of our students so that we have a successful semester with them.
So I don't know, Mark Staples, are you online? So we already tested our technology in every classroom where all the lectures can be simultaneously video streamed online. Mark, you want to add anything to that?
Sure. Thank you, President Hsu. Mark Staples, I'm the Chief Information Officer and the Senior Vice President for IT. We have been working to ensure that all of our classrooms throughout campus are prepared to be able to deliver both in person as well as streaming remotely for all of our students. So if we do have a divided class, it will be very transparent. The sound, we've been very cognizant of ensuring that the sound reinforcement is adequate when a faculty member is actually wearing a mask and when students are wearing a mask so that they can be heard. So we're pretty confident that we have a good solution and that it will be easy for our faculty to use and will be a good experience for all of our students.
Thanks, everyone. Next question, will student employees be provided with PPE?
Hi, Ron. Alicia Cadill in Student Affairs. So for any employee, student or otherwise, we will look to provide some basic things for them, including a face covering, hand sanitizer, and all those kinds of things. And certainly, you know, we would encourage folks to also have their own supply of things to kind of balance that out with what's provided. But we would provide student employees what they needed to do their work for sure.
Thank you, Alicia. Next question. In the event that there is a closure after the semester starts and courses are online, will there be a refund of tuition other than room and board?
Ron, this is Paul Patrick, the Chief of Staff to President Hsu. And certainly right now, the firm intention of the College of Charleston is to be able to bring students back to campus in late August and keep them on campus right up through the end of November with the start of Thanksgiving break. And so we certainly plan on students being able to experience the full College of Charleston experience here in downtown Charleston. And so we don't expect for any as situations change, as transmission of the virus evolves over the fall semester, we'll make decisions as situations warrant.
Thank you, Paul. Next question. If a student has to self-quarantine for an extended period as a result and cannot attend classes in person, what happens? If the student has to stay away from others for an extended period, will she have to withdraw from in-person classes? Fran, are you? There you go. There you go.
So I'm going to have to ask for Bridget McLernan Sykes to weigh in on this one as well. But if they can't attend classes in person, then they would go fully online. I mean, that's the beauty of this whole hybrid model. And we don't intend for them to withdraw if they have to if they have to be isolated or in quarantine for an extended period of time. We intend for them to continue in instruction.
And this is Bridget again. I don't really have anything more to add, and that's exactly what we think will happen.
Thank you both. Next question. Please explain the process for express classes for the fall and how it works for a student taking 5 classes.
So it'll work just like it's worked in the past. I mean, you would take however many express classes that you can manage, and then however many full semester classes that you can handle, and you can break that up depending upon what classes are needed and what classes are being offered Express 1, Express 2, or full semester.
Thank you. Next question. Because our finals will be online, will other clubs, activities, and events be canceled after Thanksgiving? How will clubs, activities, and events operate with COVID-19?
Hi, everyone. Alicia Cadell in Student Affairs again. So I anticipate when we go virtually at the end of the semester that we will translate and be planning for the special things that happen at the end of the semester to be able to happen remotely, or to have some different things at the end of the semester that we can deliver remotely to keep students connected and engaged at that time. We do like to celebrate the end of the semester. And as far as what we're looking at for involvement opportunities throughout the semester, I think those will look in a range of ways. We're working on a guide for students, faculty, and staff who plan events about how to do things virtually, how to do things that will be appropriate in person, some different ways to engage and connect. So we'll be giving our student organization leadership a series of training opportunities to look at how to do that and how to continue to provide that experience and build those student organizations, because we know that connection is really important.
Thank you. Next question. What kinds of freshman experiences will be canceled due to the new social distancing?
So this is Alicia Cadell in Student Affairs again, and I can take a start at that one, and there may be some other folks that want to add in. So I think what we're really looking to do is figure out how to create the experiences, either doing the things we've done in the past in a different way or creating new things to replace them. So the goal would be certainly not to cancel things, but to provide them in a different way or to provide something new in their place. And those are the things we're working on. I think we have some really interesting ideas around how we might do convocation for first-year students that I think will provide some new opportunities that may be even more engaging than what we've done in the past. So there are several, we're looking at weeks of welcome and how we create those in ways that are appropriate but also engaging for students. So I really hope we can get to an idea of not thinking about what's canceled or what we've lost, but what are we gaining and how is it different, but different better.
Did anybody else want to weigh in on the freshman experience? Going once? Okay, no. Next question. How will social distancing be maintained in laboratory-based classes? Will we be 1 or 2 to a hood? Fran, I think you may be muted.
There we go. I don't know how this, my machine just, okay, so so Dean Van Delden is working with the chairs to figure out social distancing in labs, which we will have. And I think it will depend on the lab configuration, but more than likely it'll be 1 to a hood. But again, you need to wait and talk with your chair, your faculty member, and follow whatever processes they put in place. They're working on it.
Thank you, Fran. We are running a little short on time, but I want to try to get to at least a couple more questions. Next question is, what will happen if somebody living in a dorm gets sick? Will all of their roommates or everyone living in the residence hall have to quarantine?
Hey, Ron, this is Bridget McLernan-Sykes from Student Health Services again, and maybe Amy might like to add into this, but the Health and Safety Task Force is working very closely with housing and with residential experience to address exactly this question. Every plan that we are making is in an effort to try to minimize the impact of someone getting sick within a residence hall. So decisions are being made related to social distancing and minimizing exposure. So the current plan probably wouldn't include the entire residence hall being put into quarantine, but obviously we have to take into account every situation is different. We don't know what will present down the line, but we will be doing everything ahead of time to try to reduce exposure as much as possible.
Thank you. Amy, did you want to add anything?
The only thing I would add is that we're certainly working to have some spaces available for students to isolate and quarantine if they're unable to safely do so in their assigned room.
Thank you both. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, but I do want to try to get to a few more, so we'll try to keep the answers to these next couple of questions relatively brief. Next question is, will students be allowed to leave campus for out-of-state visits?
Hey, Ron, this is Alicia Cadill, and we haven't talked about this specifically, but I think we certainly we're looking at a community of connection and care and support and us being empathetic and responsible and all of those things. So I think on this, I think students will have to work to be aware of whatever the current guidance is and what the spread is in the place that they are planning to travel to, so that if there was a need for them to self-quarantine, if they left and came back, that they would be prepared to do that and be educated and informed about those decisions. But I don't know how we would manage students' own choices about how and where they spend their time, but there could be some things that they would need to do depending on where it is they're traveling to.
Thank you, Alicia. Next question, are we to try to enforce a diversity course like USC?
Hi, Ron. This is Renard Harris, the Chief Diversity Officer. This is our second year. We started last year with a module, Diversity EDU. That module is in the first year since it's a seminar course. It's part of the syllabus. So yes, we will have it again this year, and we look forward to it, and hopefully a third year as well. And it's part of the course, and we had a great deal of success this past year, and we look forward to doing it again.
Thank you, Renard. Let's do two more questions. Next question is an athletics question. Will athletic programs run and compete in the fall? Specifically curious about sailing.
Thank you, Ron. This is Jamal Walton from the athletic department. Yes, we are prepared to have our athletic programs run, including sailing. We're excited about that. We're working with our coaches to make sure that our student athletes transition back onto campus. And we're doing everything we can to make sure everything is safe. And when it comes to travel, we will have some travel restrictions. There will be no air travel for anyone that's competing to away events.
Thank you, Jamal. Next question, concern over Warren Place. That's one of our residence halls. How can we be sure that students will be safe either in their dorms or walking the streets?
Hi, Ron. I will take that one as I don't think we have someone from public safety on with us tonight. So I think there's a lot of ways to think about this question. One of the things that we do hear from our students and receive great feedback on is their sense of safety on campus, and our public safety certainly does a very good job working with that. And we certainly have a lot of measures in place in our residence halls in terms of how we secure those halls, how the desks are staffed 24/7, and all of those things that are really important to us. But that being said, I think, for returning students, you all know that Charleston is a city and the college is located in a city. And so the same ideas that are important in that type of living, in terms of traveling with other people, making sure your items are secure, calling public safety for an escort to where you need to go if you're needing to travel by yourself and don't feel safe doing so. I think all of that is really important. We certainly do our very best to provide the environment that's safe, but being responsive to what's happening in the city and to taking those extra precautions for yourself are also things that will continue to be very important.
Thank you, Alicia. Ron, let me just say one more thing. I think our students and parents will be happy to hear that the College of Charleston is actually ranked the safest campus in the entire state of South Carolina, and is one of the safest campuses in the country. So we are generally safe on this campus.
Thank you both. We'll make this the last question because I know it's a very quick and easy answer. Fran, are summer courses pass, fail, or regular grades?
They have regular grades.
Okay, thank you. So that's going to conclude the Q&A portion of today's event. Before I send it back to President Hsu for closing remarks, I want to let our audience know that you can stay up to date on general College of Charleston news by visiting our university news site, The College Today. The address is today.cfc.edu. And for information and updates on the college's ongoing response to COVID-19, please visit our main landing page at cfc.edu/COVID-19. There you'll find links to a variety of online resources, including a link to a list of FAQs and links to video recordings of past town halls. I'll now turn it back over to President Hsu for closing remarks. President Hsu.
Thank you, Ron. And thank you all to our students and family members for your participation in this town hall. I want to close with a very simple message. You are not alone. I know these are trying times, but we're all together on this. You are an important part of a community of exceptional scholars and learners, all working toward improving humankind. We will get through these trying times by supporting each other. I'm proud of our faculties and staff. I'm proud of our students, and I'm proud of our greater community. As I said in the beginning, we have much to do to bring about change, but we can do it, and we will do it together. Thank you all, and have a good night.